But that's the challenge. That's the fun challenge of existence and having a life. Is like, can I remember? Can I remember that I am kind of eternal? That there's a bigger part of me. Hello friends, John Dalton here, Further Emergence Podcast, where we go into love, consciousness, and the mystery. And in this episode, we're going into the need for kindness, the power of love, what is truly right for you, and having a broader perspective. Now, let's have a look at some of the memes on the Further Emergence Instagram feed. First one says, today you could be talking to someone who is trying their best not to fall apart. So whatever you do today, do it with kindness in your heart. There are a lot of memes that say something along the lines of, you never know, the person you could be talking to could be just about keeping it together. Like this meme, could just about be keeping it together. So be kind, keep kindness in your heart. And that's true, but I think it doesn't go far enough. I think, like, from years of working with people, one-to-one sessions, they pop up on the Zoom call, everybody looks beautiful, everybody looks great, everyone looks like nothing could possibly be going on. In fact, you kind of go, wonder why they want to see me. They look like they have it together, they look like everything is great, they've got a big smile on their face, it looks beautiful. Oh, I wonder what could possibly be going on. And then it turns out they start to talk and explain what's gone on for them, and you can tell they are just about keeping it together. They have got so much going on. They've had such a difficult childhood. They've got things that have happened to them you wouldn't believe. So I kind of think this idea of be kind because the person might be just about keeping it together, I think it's everybody. I think everybody's just about keeping it together. Because the people who come and see me, at least they're conscious enough that they're just about keeping it together and they want help. But most people you pass in the supermarket or in the, pass in traffic or whatever, they probably are not resourced to even know that they're in trouble, that they've got like so much going on that they're completely overwhelmed. It just comes out as road rage or crying for no reason or some sort of weird skin rash or there's some other kind of physical symptom. So it's not like you need to know about that or do anything about that. But this idea of that the person might be going through something, I don't think that's enough. I think you can take it that everybody is going to be going through something. So being kind to everybody, not because you're like, well, let me interview you. I just want to get a read on whether I should be kind to you or not. Because, you might be going through a lot, in which case I'll be kind to you, but you might not, in which case I don't have to be so kind to you. I think you can just take it that everybody is. Because you just have to look at yourself, we all have good days, of course, where you can feel, very captainish and like, I think I've figured it out, or I think I'm doing great, or I'm full of energy for life. But modern life, it's kind of hard. It's kind of difficult. Like even when you're feeling on top of the world still, it can still kick you in the guts when you're least expecting it, or some little thing goes wrong, which suddenly bursts the bubble, and suddenly you're not so captainish anymore. You're not so sure about how it's all going. You're no different. Everyone's the same. So in the face of that, it's kind of prudent, it's compassionate, but it's kind of honest to just like operate as if, everybody's going through it. So let me just be as kind as I possibly can, because you know you really don't know who's on the edge, and most people are close to the edge, as far as I can see. Most people are, yeah, borderline. So yeah, being kind. It's not a. It's not like a luxury. It's not like a, oh, I must remember to be kind. It's so necessary, because we're all in the same boat. And weirdly, the kinder you are to people, it does come back, you know, that not always, no guarantee, and don't do it so it'll come back. But you'll find that if you move in a kindly way, if you view other people with a kindly eye, that there is a response to that. Maybe not from the person, but there is a softness that comes into your life that makes it, takes you a little bit back from the edge, a little bit further back. Certainly so much softer than if you kind of go, that's it, no one's going to help me, no one thinks about me, no one's trying to be kind to me, I don't care, I'm just going to do what I want. That just makes life and yourself tighter, more brittle, because it's not really your nature to be like that. Um, and I'm not presuming to know you or tell you what your nature is, but I've worked with lots of people, and I haven't come across anybody whose nature is not like that. Inside, under all the unconsciousness, everybody's pretty soft and fluffy underneath it all. Sometimes there's a lot to get under, but it's there. So that's why I can confidently say it's your nature, and living your nature and expressing your nature helps you live that kind of softness a bit more. Next one's a quote from Charlie Chaplin, and it says, "You need power only when you want to do something harmful. Otherwise, love is enough to get everything done." Love is enough to get everything done. Is it? I'd like to think so. And certainly in my experience of trying everything else, I don't know about power. I've never really been interested in power that much. Not the sort of political, financial kind of power. But I have tried to make things happen in my life. I have tried to be forceful, and you get experience in things, and like I came across things. It was like, okay, if you want to be successful, you've got to do this thing and this thing. It's like the hustle culture. I think that idea of you have to work and work and work and work and work and work, which is fine, and for some people it works. But if you're interested in consciousness, and I'm guessing that you are, because you're listening to me, then it's kind of balanced with that moment in the Matrix where Neo and Morpheus are sparring in this like holding program, and they're like in some sort of dojo, and they're doing the kung fu and whatever, and Morpheus is trying to help Neo see that what it's like in the Matrix. And it's, kung fu, blah, 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 and he's going faster and faster and whatever. And poor old Neo's he's getting the crap beaten out of him. But at one point, they go through this particular sequence, and Morpheus ends up like giving him this big kick, and he flies across the room, and Neo's like, how did that happen? How's he so fast? How's he like? And he's like, how can I beat this guy? And Morpheus goes, do you think that's air you're breathing? And I don't know. I think it's possibly the most profound thing in that movie. I mean, it's a pretty profound kind of movie. But if you've got that kind of perspective on things, then you kind of know that hustle is not going to work for you. because it's a little bit like breathing heavily in the matrix. It's like, yeah, it'll work within the matrix, but if you know that it's not real, then there's other ways to do it. It's like people who are very good at manifestation. They will tell you, somewhat depressingly if you are new to it, that the number doesn't matter. You know, whether you want to create $100, $1,000, $1 million, $10 million, $1 billion, it doesn't, the number doesn't matter. I'm not there yet, so I don't know, but I get it. I get it. It's a bit like Morpheus going, do you think that's air you're breathing, you know? Because if you can consciously create or manifest $100, then it's just zeros after that. But we kind of go, no, 1,000 is more significant than 100, and 1,000,000 is more, and we kind of go, we put the brakes on ourselves. So my perspective is for people like yourself who are interested in consciousness. And we can very clearly see that this kind of grasping for power, you don't grasp for power unless you want to do something that's not loving. It's that simple. Because when it is loving, then you can figure it out. You can, figure, like I've gone through very, very difficult things in relationships with people, whatever. And I know what it's like not to stay with love, and never went well. And I've known what it's like to stay with love, and it's not like the outcome was radically different. In some cases it was. But for the ones where you kind of go, well, that didn't work out, or there would be a tendency to kind of feel like, oh, that didn't work out. Well, it did work out in that I am at peace with the outcome in a way that I wouldn't be if I hadn't stayed with love. And I know that because I've done both. I have been forceful. I've tried to make things be the way I want them to be. And so even when I win, even when you win in that situation, you don't win. It's still, there's a sort of a hollow feeling to it. It's like in an argument, which is much easier to kind of get your head around, Like if you're good at arguing, I'm not great at arguing, but I'm okay. And if in an argument, I win the argument, but in order to win the argument, I hurt the other person. And I kind of would like to think I didn't do it on purpose, but I did because I wanted to win. And, as the thought was coming into my mind, it was like, oh my God, if I say that, that's going to be pretty hurtful. That's a bit lacerating, but I'll win. I'll shut them up. So I say it, and it shuts them up. And I win the argument. But I feel not so good. Not good at all. It's like that famous phrase or quote, I can't remember where. It sounds like a Zen thing. And it's this idea of, if you sit quietly by the river, the enemy of your body will float by. No, the body of your enemy will float by. If you sit quietly by the river for long enough, the body of your enemy will float by. And I've had that happen quite a few times. And you kind of think, it's like, ha, there you go, yeah, I knew, that's karma. It's never like that. I'm always so sad. And you kind of go, and this is people who have like wronged me seriously. Not like trivial, things. People who've really wronged me and been unjust and so on. And when I've seen their body float by, or I don't mean figuratively, I don't mean literally, sometimes literally, but it just, when it catches up with them in the way that I had a feeling it would, it's never enjoyable. For me anyway, I've never enjoyed it. It's always been like sad. And I think that's because we actually want each other to be free. We actually want each other to become more conscious. That's the main thing. Like I would, rather than the body of my enemy float by, I'd rather someone who was an enemy come and go, oh, I've seen my part in this, you know. I'm sorry. Not because I want to hear them apologize, but just like that they've become conscious of their behavior. I want that. So if you kind of know that all grasping for power is fundamentally because there's a desire there to do something that's not loving, like win an argument on a global scale, then you can kind of go, you can do your part and go, well, what's the loving thing to do here? And not in like, what's the nice thing to do? Because, you know, being nice is not a loving thing to do. It's politic, you know. There's usually you want something when you're trying to be nice. But it's like, what's my true nature here? You know, what's the deepest thing inside me here? And let me come from that place. Let me live from that place. Let me move from that place. And it's nearly always loving, you know, because, yeah, you might have anger and resentment and vengeance and all that. But if you keep going, you'll get down to the love. And if you stay true to that and you act from that point of view, then love is enough to take care of everything. And you can live that and you can embody that. You might think, well, I'm just going to get steamrolled. And yes, to a degree, but then there have been great examples of how powerful that is when you go with what your true nature is on the inside and live that. Amazing things can happen.
The next one says, everything that is truly right for you will make you feel at ease. Everything that is truly right for you will seem so simple, so obvious, so comfortable. Everything that is truly right for you will choose you as quickly as you choose it. Everything that is truly right for you will happen serendipitously and spontaneously. It will come when you expect it and when you don't, as both a surprise and a certainty. It will seem like such an obvious fact of your life and yet entirely new, all at once.
Everything that's truly right for you will make you feel at ease. That's pretty shocking, isn't it? Doesn't say. I mean, initially it's not shocking. Initially it's like, oh, that's beautiful. Everything that's truly right for me will make me feel at ease, which is great. Except we've been conditioned to feel like we don't deserve anything. You know, nothing that we don't work for. So when things happen easily, we don't register it. We don't get it. We kind of trivialize it. We kind of think, oh no, work is supposed to be tough. So, you know, I have to work. I have to work for my money. I can't just get it. It can't just be given to me because I don't deserve it. So if it's easy, no. I want it to be hard. Or relationships. Oh no, that we steered away from people who are easy towards people who are difficult. We're attracted to people who are difficult, which is crazy. So, you know, everything that's truly right for you will make you feel at ease is true, but we won't register it. We'll overlook it. We'll think, oh, that doesn't count. Whether you're an artist or, you know, like artists, it's very hard for artists, and I speak from personal experience here. If things come easily, we think, oh no, I must have to work a bit harder. I just did this line. It was beautiful. It's perfect. Now let me just fiddle with it a bit. So yeah, it's true, but can we be conscious enough and easy and loving of ourselves enough to see that? Everything that's truly right for you will choose you as quickly as you choose it. It's kind of the same. No, 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 no. That happened way too easily and way too quickly. Let me think about it a bit more. Let me, let me work at it a bit more. Let me ruminate on it. Let me go and ask people about it. And like, there's a lot to be said for doing a lot of those things. But we overlook the simplicity of what's truly right for us and the gut feeling, Like when you have a gut feeling, you have a full body yes about something. Do we listen to that? Do we trust it enough? Do we know it well enough to kind of go, yeah, I had a full body yes on that. I am going to do that. I don't think so. I think we're much more predisposed to, we'll feel the full body yes, and we'll just discount it. We'll go, yeah, not so sure. What about the commute? Or what about the mole on their cheek? Or what about the bathroom in the house? You get a full body yes about the house and the location, but then our mind likes to have a say about something and it kind of goes, yeah, but I'm not so sure about that bathroom. And then we fixate on the bathroom. So we begin to see why everything that's truly right for us, we don't notice it so much. Everything that's truly right for us will come as a surprise and a certainty, as like we were expecting it and it's a surprise. That doesn't make any sense, and yet that's the way it is. But because it doesn't make any sense, we just, again, it's so easy for us to just trivialize it and go, yeah, no, I don't think that's truly right for me because I feel very strange. I feel simultaneously surprised, and yet I knew it was going to happen. I'm kind of, there's a sort of a sense of like, yep, there's no surprise there. I knew that was going to happen. And yet I'm kind of surprised at the same time. And that kind of hurts my brain, and it's too much, and it's too easy, it's too serendipitous. And yeah, I have a full body yes about it, but let me think about it a bit more. And so we go for the, we go for what looks good on paper, but isn't good for us, is not good for our heart. And what makes us feel a bit dead. But, it ticked all the boxes. And then we wonder why we're miserable and why there's no excitement and joy and adventure in our lives. Because we have sucked it all out with our mind, and our mind it's great. I'm using it right now to make these words, to talk to you and to work the camera and to, do all this kind of thing. And it's great for that kind of thing. It's just, it's so good at so many things, it can feel like it's in charge and that it has to be in charge of everything. And there's all the magic in life happens outside of all this stuff. It happens in the gaps between the thoughts, And unless your mind can kind of be okay with that, it's not going to open up any of those gaps. It's going to keep slamming the gaps together because it's like, no, I'm in charge here. I'm in charge of everything. Everything, I'm in charge of everything. And, when it is in charge of everything, it's like, because it's limited. Our minds are limited. Don't tell that to your mind, but it's true. They're limited, even though if you're very clever, if you could have a super high IQ, it doesn't matter. There's still a limit to what your mind can be conscious of. There's a Zen thing about a sword can't cut itself, right? Which is like, what? That's in there with the one hand clapping thing and all that thing. I knew a guy years ago who he was like, oh, what's the sound of one hand clapping? Oh yeah, I'm pondering on that. And he was like to his mother, hey mother, ponder this. What's the sound of one hand clapping? And his mother kind of thought for a second and went, you can't hear it, but you can actually make your hand clap with one hand. And he was like, no, wait, no. So that's the way our mind can kind of be. It can go like, oh wow, I know this. Particularly spiritual concepts, our mind kind of gloms onto them like, oh, now I know that. Oh, I read the Bhagavad Gita, or I read this thing, or I read that. I know now I know it, you know. And of course, it doesn't. All it does is it knows the words, it knows the concepts, but the knowledge, the profound knowledge, the spiritual knowledge, it happens in the gaps. So you have to make space. You have to make peace with your mind. Your mind has to make peace with the fact that it doesn't know it all. In fact, it knows very little. In fact, my experience, my mind, or my frontal awareness, it's the least resourced part of me. Yet it has to deal with everything in existence. I have to deal with the postman and the gas bill and all that stuff. Okay, I don't have gas, but you get the idea. I have to deal with all that stuff. And yet it's got the least amount of profound knowledge. It's the least amount of, it knows so little of the real deeper realities that are going on. So unless there's a harmony inside where my mind can surrender to the things that it doesn't actually know and kind of go, well, that's, I don't know, then there's a constriction in life. There's everything starts to go a bit gray. Have you noticed how everything starts to go a bit gray? And the joy is gone, you know? That's the nice thing about kids is they don't have that yet. Their mind hasn't really crunched in on them yet. So they just don't care. They're just free and spontaneous and they see everything. They see the magic everywhere and everything is wonderful and adventurous, you know? But that's in us. It's still in us. It's just we have to re-find it and return to it. And return and become sensitive to everything that's right for us. It's easy, it's serendipitous, it feels like a surprise and a certainty all at the same time, and all these conflicting, beautiful things when it's just easy. So, yeah, let's just do what's easy. Not what's, hang on, I was about to wrap that up. I don't mean, well, let me just lie on the couch and do nothing. I'm not talking about that. Or I need to have a difficult conversation with somebody. I'm not going to have it because it's not easy. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you're moving along through life and something appears to you, that we automatically discount something that's easy, something that's serendipitous, something that's doesn't require work. Okay? Strangely, if you have to have a difficult conversation with somebody and you feel a lot of resistance to it, but you know it's the right thing to do inside, that's the easy thing to do because you probably have had the experience of not doing it. You know, I need to have a difficult conversation with somebody on Monday. Let me put it off till Tuesday. You know? Like there's a famous, what is a quote from Mark Twain, you know, never put off till tomorrow what you could put off till the day after tomorrow. But that doesn't work with difficult stuff. So if you put off the difficult conversation on Monday to Tuesday, on Tuesday it's even more difficult. The conversation has become more difficult. If you put it off to Wednesday, it's become even more difficult. The feeling of like, oh God, I really don't have that conversation now. It just grows and grows and grows. So it's actually easier to do it, and there'll be a movement of serendipity. The person appears, or they ring you, and your insides are going full body, yes, I need to say it to them now. Or they've just appeared, they just dropped in. What? You know, they never drop in. Why have they dropped in? Oh my God, I have to say it to them now. That's the ease I'm talking about. I don't mean to take the easy path. I mean there's ease in the action.
The last one is by S.C. Laurie. And they say, breathe, darling. This is just a chapter. It's not the whole story.
Breathe, darling. This is just a chapter. It's not the whole book. That's so obvious, isn't it? And yet, when we're in it, we feel like the chapter we are in is the whole book. And it's very hard to get that perspective, to get that distance and kind of go, yeah, this will pass. This too will pass is very hard to know when what you are in is very painful. Then the whole idea of this too will pass. This is just a chapter. It's not the whole book, darling. That's like, no, I don't care. Because right now it hurts. And it's been hurting for a week. And it looks like it's going to be hurting for the rest of my life. This is one of the things that pain, whether it's emotional pain or physical pain, it really challenges us to, can we get our consciousness fast enough so that we can know these things, so that we can know the whole book when we are caught up in the pain of a chapter. And some chapters are excruciating, and some chapters seem to just go on forever. And when that's happening, we kind of think that this isn't a chapter, this is the whole book. This has been going on my whole life. You ever had that feeling? It's very hard. But that's the challenge. That's the fun challenge of existence and having a life. It's like, can I remember? Can I remember that I am kind of eternal? That there's a bigger part of me? And that this feels so like it's just been going on forever. Can I remember it hasn't been going on forever, that it disappears every night? Even if you have trouble sleeping, there's still a point where you can't help it but fall asleep. And then you can't help but go into deep dreamless sleep. I can say that confidently because you'd be dead if you couldn't. We have to go to the mystery. If we can't get to the mystery, you can't survive. Your body can't sustain itself. Or, probably more accurately, we can't sustain the illusion. So it disappears. So even though things feel like they last forever, and that, this chapter has been going on my whole life, the whole idea of a life is a continuous series of moments that are held together by our mind and a sense of continuity that isn't really as real as we would like to think, because it all disappears every night. We think that oh, I wake up in the morning and my body's been asleep and all that kind of thing. But we don't. That's not our direct experience. It all just disappears. All the heartache, all the pain, physical pain, all the pain just disappears every night in deep dreamless sleep. So really, what we call our life is a series of experiences of existence that we string together as, oh, that's a life. And when you can kind of see it like that, it makes it easier to get to this place of this idea of a chapter. Because even though there are different themes in a life, and you can kind of go, oh, I've been struggling with money my whole life, or I've been struggling with these terrible things that happened to me in my childhood, my whole life. There can be themes that go on, overarching themes that can feel like a never-ending chapter. And then there can be like, oh, there was that time I worked for that tyrant. Oh, there was that relationship I was in, that was terrible. Oh, remember when I used to live in that place? It was awful, I had terrible neighbors. Those are kind of chapters, very obviously chapters, and it's easy to kind of go, they will pass. But the bigger overarching themes, they too are chapters within the bigger story. And even you could say that your life is a chapter in the bigger story of you. Because we, even though we don't like to think of it, are so much bigger than we appear to be to others, but also mainly to ourselves. There's so much more mystery to us than we like to acknowledge. Like simple things like, where do we go in deep dreamless sleep? Do we go anywhere? We seem to come back refreshed. Now you can go, I know your body, yeah, fine. But there's also another part where we kind of go, I think there's something else going on there. There's a deeper kind of thing. I have no memory of where I go, but I feel good when I wake up. That's pretty mysterious to me. And there's so much more mystery in us that is there to be seen. So it's very helpful to remember and to, as this meme says, breathe, darling, you know, in a sort of plummy British voice, breathe, darling. It's just a chapter. You could say that about anything. It's just a chapter. It's not the whole book. And that's very helpful to remember. All right, that's all I have for you this time. I trust you're well. I trust you're of good cheer. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.